using pliers to remove braces, using a hammer to break the nose bridge, using thick thread to sew on eyelashes, swallowing parasite eggs to lose weight. What extremes will women go to in order to become beautiful? This is 2025's most visually painful film, The Ugly Stepsister. Turns out the fairy tales we read as kids are absolutely horrifying from a different perspective. Every girl has fairy tale dreams. Elvira is no exception. She's obsessed with Prince Julian, spending her days reading his poetry aloud. But reality is harsh. Elvira is ugly, and her family is poor. She can only follow her mother Rebecca around, living off others, depending on one wealthy man after another. This time, her mother married the nobleman Otto. Otto has an only daughter, Agnes. Unlike the ugly Elvira, Agnes is naturally gorgeous. Even Elvira, seeing her for the first time, can't help but feel deeply envious. Agnes is warm toward her new stepsister, showing her around the estate and her room. You can tell Agnes lives a true princess life. She has the bedroom every girl dreams of, mountains of beautiful dresses, basins filled with flowers, vanity tables covered in jewelry. All of this makes Elvira green with envy. Even more exciting, from Agnes's bedroom window, you can see right into the prince's castle. This spatial setup is clever, suggesting that Agnes is naturally closer to the world Elvira dreams of. Agnes quickly picks up on her stepsister's feelings. Elvira openly admits her love for the prince.
Jeg vil gifte meg med han. Det vil jeg virkelig.
Something absurd happens at dinner. Otto throws cake directly at Elvira's face. Rebecca is clearly unhappy, but Elvira doesn't get angry. Instead, she puts on a pleasing smile to ease the tension. Everyone quickly bursts into laughter. Otto laughs so hard he can't breathe. He actually laughs too hard, coughs up blood, and dies right there. After Otto's death, Agnes is devastated. She collapses on her bed, completely broken. Though Elvira is ugly, she's actually quite kind. She brings Agnes some food. I brought chocolate, the world's best comfort food. Agnes ignores her, so Elvira sits nearby, picking up a silver comb to fidget with. Agnes finally speaks. Can you please leave? Elvira tries to comfort her, saying everything will pass, but Agnes isn't having it. She thinks the stepmother's family is shameless. Her father isn't even buried yet, and they've already moved in. If it weren't for the stepmother's money, her father never would have looked at people like them. These words reveal Agnes's true thoughts. Turns out she's always looked down on the stepmother's family. Her earlier kindness was just fake niceness. Elvira suddenly realizes her mother's plan was wrong. She rushes to tell her mother, "Mom." Turns out, Otto was a declining nobleman. He never had much money. Now that he's dead, all the land and livestock must be confiscated. Hearing this news, the stepmother faints. Now they're really screwed. Elvira comforts her mother, saying they'll figure something out. At worst, there's still her. But Rebecca is even more hopeless. She's already old and faded, dragging around two useless daughters. One ugly as sin, one who hasn't even gotten her period. Finding another rich man is just a pipe dream. Elvira looks at herself in the mirror, wondering if she's really that ugly. Turns out she has no beauty at all, and her skin is absolutely filthy. It's not just the three of them worried about survival. Agnes is equally lost, until one day, a messenger from the palace arrives, inviting all noble young ladies to a palace ball on the night of the fourth full moon. At that time, the prince will choose his bride from among them. Agnes is naturally one of the invited, but Elvira has no noble status. Luckily Agnes covers for her on the spot. She's my half-sister. So the messenger comically writes Elvira's surname as Elvira stepsister. In the end, both receive ball invitations. Elvira is obsessed with the prince, constantly having pink fantasies about him. If she marries the prince, she can not only achieve her dreams, but the three of them will never worry about money again. But before attending the ball, Elvira must become beautiful. Beautiful enough to catch the prince's eye. Her mother brings in a plastic surgeon. The doctor designs a complete face makeover plan. First remove the braces, then lower the nose bridge, finally hand sew on fake eyelashes. There's a creepy little detail here. During the consultation, the sister sees bloodstains in the operating room. This hints that becoming beautiful is risky. You might even lose your life. First the braces and nose. On surgery day, the doctor uses huge pliers to remove the braces, but that's just the easy part. Then the doctor takes out a hammer and hits the nose bridge ding 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 a couple times, accompanied by Elvira's painful screams. The surgery is complete. Of course, it's not over yet. To fix the nose shape, she has to wear a metal corrector. These plastic surgery scenes are both absurd and horrifying. But you know what? These seemingly exaggerated medieval beauty techniques are actually historically accurate. With the ball approaching, the invited girls need to enter finishing school to rehearse the opening performance for the ball. They'll select one lead dancer and two backup dancers. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Standing center stage means the prince will notice you first. Elvira studies hard, but because she's so ugly, Lady Fanya rudely puts her in the back row. The back row is filled with ugly girls like her who aren't good enough, while naturally beautiful Agnes is naturally promoted to the front row. Here, effort doesn't matter. Beauty is justice. Appearance determines rank. To lose weight, her mother sets up a strict diet plan. At dinner, Elvira can only drink lemon water, while her mother and sister get to eat meat. Even Agnes gets a balanced meal. For the already food-obsessed Elvira, this is pure torture. At the dinner table, Agnes asks the stepmother when they'll bury her father. The stepmother brushes it off, saying after Elvira marries the prince. This excuse doesn't fool Agnes. She knows plastic surgeons aren't cheap. The stepmother already promised to pay double after the ball. My father's body is rotting, but you won't spend a penny on his funeral. Agnes storms away from the table, taking an oil lamp to visit her father. Just as she said, the body is covered in flies, rotted beyond recognition. The ball opening performance list comes out. Elvira is surprised to find she made it. During rehearsal, Lady Fanya demonstrates the lead dancer's moves and asks Elvira to try. Elvira does very well. Lady Fanya praises her talent, but says it's a pity about that face. Such a waste of talent. Elvira is devastated. What hurts her more is Lady Fanya's brutal honesty. She originally wasn't going to choose Elvira, but her mother paid her. Right after saying this, Lady Fanya calls the most beautiful girl in class, Agnes, to be the lead dancer. The blows keep coming. Elvira is not only humiliated about her looks, but can't fit into the beautiful dress. She struggles to squeeze into it, but only ends up choking herself. Looking at her fat body in the mirror, thinking about the food secretly hidden in her drawer, she can't even control herself. She's so useless and pathetic. Even so, the next day Elvira tries everything to squeeze herself into that beautiful dress, because today is important. The girls will meet another examiner besides Lady Fanya, Teacher Sophie. Teacher Sophie sees Elvira's nose and says she's a brave girl. As Teacher Sophie speaks about inner beauty being most important, she pulls out a mysterious box containing a tapeworm egg. If Elvira swallows it, she can eat and drink whatever she wants and still lose weight, because the worm will eat everything she consumes. This solution sounds terrifying, but for desperate Elvira, it's like a lifeline. Elvira tells her sister about this. Her sister calls her crazy and storms off. But Elvira grits her teeth and swallows the tapeworm egg. She's already miserable enough. How much worse could it get? Suddenly, there's a noise from the forest. She walks forward and sees the prince taking a leak. Elvira nervously makes a sound. The prince's two friends make crude jokes, but the prince looks at Elvira with disgust, saying he wouldn't touch that kind of trash. This is the white knight prince Elvira fantasizes about daily. Of course, fairy tale princes are all lies. Meanwhile, Agnes returns home. Turns out she and the stable boy are already lovers, but now she's clear. She must marry the prince. I have to marry the prince. But didn't you say you love me? I will love only you for the rest of my life. Agnes clearly separates love and marriage. Love is love, but marriage requires practical considerations. When Elvira returns that evening, she hears moaning from the stable. Walking closer, she sees Agnes and the stable boy being intimate. Elvira tells her mother about this. This gives Rebecca the perfect excuse to demote Agnes to servant and kick out the stable boy. From then on, the youngest daughter Alma takes care of the horses. After 3 full moons, Elvira's nose finally heals. She can remove the brace. With the tapeworm egg's help, she's lost a lot of weight without dieting. But now, Elvira is completely obsessed to become even more perfect. She goes back to the plastic surgery clinic for hand-sewn eyelash surgery. The doctor looks at her artificial nose and praises it as a perfect work of art, suggesting she could get breast implants next time. Elvira is basking in her newfound beauty. When the nurse beside her turns around, she sees the woman's eye has turned white from a failed surgery. Elvira suddenly gets nervous, but there's no turning back. She's strapped to the chair and undergoes the eyelash sewing surgery while awake. The pain can be felt through the screen. Let me cover your eyes for a moment. Lightning and thunder at night. Elvira's eyes are wrapped in thick bandages. She endures the pain because the tapeworm in her stomach is hungry and moving around. Meanwhile, Sister Alma also wakes up. She sits up in bed and sees she's gotten her period. She holds the stained sheets, trying to secretly hide them from her mother, but runs into Elvira. The sisters each have their secrets. One afraid her mother will know she's grown up. One secretly feeding the parasite in her stomach. Elvira wants to find food, but lies to her sister, saying she's just going to the bathroom. After saying goodbye to her sister, Elvira feels her way to the kitchen in the dark and runs into Agnes. Seeing Elvira in such a pitiful state, Agnes's eyes show both hatred and sympathy. She silently hands her a piece of cake, then turns and leaves. Through the stepmother and teacher Sophie's manipulation, Agnes is forbidden from going out. She's even forced to give up the lead dancer position. Lady Fania feels terrible, but there's nothing she can do. She has to find someone else. Looking carefully, she makes a new discovery. The formerly ugly Elvira has quietly become beautiful. Please. And so, Elvira finally becomes the lead dancer, getting closer to the prince. Her beauty plan seems to be working. However, that night, an accident happens. Elvira is taking a bath while reading the prince's poetry, enjoying being fed by Agnes. Pasta falls into the bathtub, floating on the water surface along with Elvira's hair. The prince's poetry is too abstract. There's a line Elvira doesn't understand. She asks Agnes what it means. What do you think he means by snake? His penis. Agnes answers very directly. This contrast is heartbreaking. Elvira is still enchanted by those beautiful verses, treating them as symbols of romantic love, while Agnes has long been awake to reality, seeing through those flowery words as nothing but sexual innuendo. Maybe this gap in understanding makes Elvira feel threatened. She starts redefining their relationship, no longer calling Agnes by her name, but addressing her as Cinderella. Can you brush my hair, Cinderella? In this moment, Elvira thinks she's finally turned the tables. Now she's the noble lady taking a bath, and Agnes is just a lowly servant. But she forgets, in the real fairy tale, Cinderella is the ultimate winner. Agnes takes the silver comb that once belonged to her, and calmly tells her stepsister that the comb is hers, and that Elvira won't need it anymore. Then, Agnes hands her a clump of fallen hair. Elvira realizes in horror that at some point, her beautiful hair has become much thinner. On a stormy night, a man delivers a gown to Elvira. It's custom-made with Rebecca's big investment. When Agnes helps her stepsister get dressed, the man starts groping her. What a little slut. The reversal of status is just that cruel. Yesterday she was a noble lady. Today she's humiliated by any random man. As the man adjusts Elvira's clothes, he discovers she's balding. But no problem, a wig will make it perfect. Even the delivery man knows their family has put all their hopes on this gamble. At night, Elvira is still hungry. She secretly takes a plate of food and sits on the stairs devouring it. The tapeworm makes her perpetually hungry. This hunger feels like a curse. Meanwhile, Agnes isn't sleeping either. She opens a box containing childhood shoes and a beautiful dress. This is her last hope for a comeback. Just as she's about to return to her room, Agnes and her stepsister meet face to face. The moment their eyes meet, crisis, jealousy, and tension instantly explode. Elvira's gaze turns vicious. She starts grabbing and tearing Agnes's dress. In this moment, her inner malice completely erupts. Mom comes running, forcibly pulling Elvira away, giving her medicine to calm down. Agnes hugs her torn dress and cries over her father's rotting corpse. What happens next feels like supernatural irony. Maggots crawl over from her father's body, but looking closer, those insects are actually silkworms, not maggots. They start spinning silk to mend Agnes's dress. Overnight, the originally plain gown becomes a dreamy dress with delicate lace. Suddenly, a beam of light shines on Agnes's face. Her dead mother tells Agnes the shoes are in her pocket. Agnes pulls out the shoes. The baby shoes have somehow been enlarged, transformed into beautiful women's shoes. Remember, at midnight the carriage turns back into a pumpkin. The night of the fourth full moon, the night of the ball, Elvira puts on her gown and her wig, arriving at the palace. The noble ladies make their grand entrances one by one. The host announces like an auctioneer, describing their height, weight, and family background. Men sit nearby sucking oysters, sizing up the women, while making crude comments. Then, Elvira makes her dazzling entrance. She's like an obedient little puppy, charming all the men. Teacher Sophie is proud. This is her personally trained student. 6 months ago, she loved cake. During the opening dance performance, Elvira blows a kiss to the prince. The prince's gaze is clearly different. After the performance, the prince begins selecting dance partners. For the first dance, the prince carefully looks at each girl, finally settling his gaze on Elvira.
Vill du göra mig den äran?
In this moment, Elvira feels her efforts have finally paid off, but after just a few steps, everyone's attention is drawn to a masked woman at the door. She's in a blue dress, with her own fairy dust effect. Like destiny, the prince is enchanted. He ignores Elvira beside him and walks straight toward the masked woman. Elvira is instantly abandoned. Her stomach churns. She runs outside and vomits, throwing up a bunch of tapeworm eggs. All the pain, humiliation, and despair explode in this moment. She destroyed herself for this man, yet can't even get 2 minutes of his attention.
Hei!
Her mother comforts her, saying there are many excellent men in the world. Even if the prince didn't choose her, other noble sons are still lining up to dance with her. Faced with her daughter's weakness, Rebecca can't stand it. She slaps Elvira across the face, snapping her back to reality. She returns to the party, continuing to dance with other barons, but her eyes can't help glancing toward the prince. Her mother introduces her to one nobleman after another. She dances one dance after another, spinning and twirling in circles, until she's dizzy. In these rapidly changing scenes, Elvira sees her mother laughing and flirting among the men, all the food at the party rotting with maggots, and the other ladies not only crawling with disgusting bugs, but spitting out insects from their mouths, until the ending pose. Her gaze once again falls on the prince and that mysterious masked woman. Only then does she see clearly. That woman is Agnes. What follows is classic fairy tale narrative. Midnight strikes. Cinderella flees in haste. The prince chases after her. Finding her dropped shoe, the prince declares, whoever can fit into this shoe is the one he'll marry. At this point, Elvira goes completely insane. Her rage maxes out. Even her facial expression changes. Determined to settle scores with Agnes, she gets off the carriage, leaps over the pumpkin at her feet, removes her gloves and wig, and attacks Agnes wildly with a kitchen knife. After some struggle, the other shoe falls to the ground. Then, her mother returns with men. Elvira is interrupted and stops her dangerous actions.
Kan du vara så snill och gå och lägga dig?
Elvira is still lost in her own narrative, while her mother has long seen reality. You already missed your chance, go away. Yes, Elvira has already missed her chance. For the three of them to survive, they still need to find other long-term meal tickets. Look, her mother, this old grass, finally hooked a young bull. Of course she has to seize it. Elvira returns to her room and puts on the other shoe. Damn it, it won't fit. She looks at the kitchen knife beside her and suddenly has an idea. Elvira measures the difference between the shoe and her foot and cuts with one stroke. The scream brings Sister Alma running. She appears handsomely in men's clothing, completely unfazed, removing her headband to help stop the bleeding. Rebecca and the Baron also come. The sheltered Baron has never seen such a scene and faints. You have to help me, Mom. I have to fit into that shoe. Rebecca gives Elvira medicine, hoping she'll feel better. Then, she tells her a cruel truth. The prince has the left shoe. Elvira cut the wrong side. Alma guesses what Mom plans to do next and firmly disagrees.
Nej, la henne være.
Hun kommer til å passe skoene.
Alma probably thinks these two are beyond saving and immediately leaves the scene. Rebecca steels herself and decides to fix the left foot too. In her daze, Elvira seems to see the prince arriving, putting the shoe on her foot. Elvira finally gets her happy ending, but without the filter. Reality is just bloody and brutal. Elvira hears the voice and immediately rolls off the bed, dragging herself down the stairs, breaking her nose bridge, chipping her teeth. She looks up and sees Agnes. From this reversed perspective, Elvira witnesses the fairy tale protagonist putting on the perfect fitting shoe.
Den passade! Jag har funnit min prinsessa! Vackra jungfru!
Everything seems destined. Elvira is the evil supporting character in the fairy tale. Kind and beautiful Cinderella is the protagonist. No matter how hard the supporting character tries, how much beauty treatment she endures, she can't change the ending. In Elvira's fantasy, the prince slowly fades away, meaning she finally faces reality, saying goodbye to her one-sided delusions. Alma wakes her sister and gives her tapeworm antidote. Soon, the worm crawls out of her mouth. It's grown very, very long. Alma keeps pulling and pulling, finally extracting the entire tapeworm. She cuts the tapeworm in half until the thing stops moving completely. Alma enters her mother's room, quietly taking some valuable jewelry. All of this, Rebecca sees. She says nothing, asks nothing, just keeps using her survival skills to keep the Baron happy. Alma packs her bags, taking her broken sister away from this place, quitting this game. On the nearby lawn, two crows are pecking at the dry tapeworm skin. The film ends here. But wait, there's an epilogue. Who knows how much time passes? Otto's corpse is covered in spider webs. This means, even though Agnes married the prince, she never held a funeral for her father. All those high-minded reasons were just self-deceiving excuses in the end. This is truly ironic. There's a popular online comment that says, "She tried so hard, yet wasn't even the protagonist." Just like us, this captures what's most heartbreaking about The Ugly Stepsister. The film focuses its lens on the fairy tales, marginalized stepsister Elvira, showing us a cruel reality. Sometimes, effort itself is a tragedy. We're used to Cinderella's story, used to believing kindness and virtue will ultimately be rewarded. But Elvira is equally kind, equally hardworking, yet destined to be a stepping stone for others' success. What the director wants to question isn't who can wear the glass slipper, but the game rules themselves that force people to cut their feet to fit the shoe. In this cruel game, every woman has her own survival strategy. Rebecca is the most calculating. She understands beauty's value in this world, so she'll stop at nothing, calling Cinderella a slut, while teaching her daughter to trade her body for benefits, and flattering the Baron herself. When she personally cuts off her daughter's toes, the fairy tale's cutting feet to fit shoes becomes bloody reality. In her logic, maternal love, morality, are all luxuries compared to survival. Elvira chooses to believe in fairy tales, truly thinking beauty will bring love and happiness, taking false promises as life guidance. Even sadder, she doesn't even have a complete identity, only being called Elvira Stepsister. This title appears repeatedly in the film's second half. The director's arrangement is meaningful. She lacks even basic identity recognition, only able to define herself through the relational term stepsister. She's not an independent individual, but forever an appendage living in others' shadows, to conform to others' idea of beauty. She dismantles and reconstructs herself piece by piece, ultimately consumed by obsession. Cinderella gets a major character overhaul. Agnes isn't some pure innocent flower. She's the shrewdest realist, clearly separating love and marriage. She sees through the prince's poetry as crude sexual talk, but still decides to marry him. Heart to the stable boy, body to the prince. This cool separation strategy lets her maximize her benefits in a cruel world. But no matter how shrewd Agnes is, she can't change one fundamental fact. Like her stepmother and stepsister, she's still dependent on others, unable to escape this system of trading beauty for security. Only Alma breaks out of this vicious cycle, refusing to participate in this game from start to finish. She secretly hides her period-stained sheets, refusing to grow up, refusing to enter the trading market. Finally, she dresses as a man, taking her broken sister away, becoming the savior in her own narrative. The director uses visual language to further expose this system's hypocritical nature. The opening images are interesting. Rotting food and exquisite jewelry mixed on the dining table. The line between beauty and decay blurs, suggesting that in this world, beauty is just another commodity that spoils. The ballroom scene pushes this corruption to extremes. Elvira sees insects falling from food in people's bodies. This may not be a hallucination, to be chosen by the prince. How many would choose extreme measures? In her mental breakdown, she glimpses the truth. Those gorgeous palaces, noble aristocrats, might all be hollow shells, beautiful outside, rotten within. Everyone is being eaten away by parasites, including herself. The beauty competition becomes collective degradation. There's another heartbreaking detail. Before meeting Agnes, Elvira wears pink dresses in her fantasies. But after meeting Agnes, in all her fantasy scenes, she's wearing Agnes's blue dress. This subtle change reveals her true desire. It was never innocent love, but everything Agnes possesses: beauty, privilege, status. It's like the 3,000 concubines and empresses in the palace, appearing to compete for the emperor's favor, actually fighting for silk and satin, fine clothes, for material wealth and class mobility opportunities. So-called love is just sugarcoating for these desires. These details point to a deeper social issue. The film presents an extreme historical environment, where women are stripped of most rights and opportunities. In that world, lower-class women have no inheritance rights, no educational opportunities, no possibility of independent work. When normal social mobility channels are blocked, beauty becomes one of the few upward paths. In such an environment, cutting feet to fit shoes is no longer foolish, but rational necessity. However, this currency is too fragile. It depreciates with time, can be destroyed by illness, replaced by younger competitors. When an entire society competes for the same scarce resource, competition inevitably becomes cruel and absurd. In this game, there are no real winners, including those temporarily at the top. This isn't individual moral decay, but the result of structural injustice. Only when we start questioning why women must cut their feet to that shape can real change possibly happen.